Sathyabama Institute of Science and Technology.
Hello everyone, myself Joan, Niveda, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Sathyabama Institute of Science and Technology. In this video, we are going to see about user-defined functions in C. So what is user-defined function? So before seeing that, we'll see the outlook of this particular video. First, we'll be seeing about the definition, what this function is. Next, we'll be seeing about how the function, how the flow will be like. Next, we'll be sharing the syntax, the rules should be followed and writing the code. At last, we'll be ending up with the example. So the first one is the definition of the function. So what is function is? Function is nothing but a block of code, a set of lines where you can perform a particular task. The main aim of this function is to achieve modularity and code reusability. Take for example, in this code if you see, I just want to execute 3 tasks. At the end of the task, I want to execute 4 lines of code. So what you will be doing here, after the main, inside the main function, you will be writing the first task. So at the end of the task, you will be writing the 4 lines of code. Again, you will be doing the second task, you will be writing the 4 lines of code. So here in this particular scenario, the same set of lines is repeated for n number of times. So is it effective? Definitely not. So what we can do is, we can apply a function, you can introduce a function concept in this particular scenario. So what you can do is the same set of code, this code is repeated for a number of times, right? So this 4 lines of code, you can put it in one particular block, okay? So here I'm creating a function called my function. So that my function is user defined. It can be any name. It can be a print or it can be a display. It is totally your option. So here I have mentioned it like my function. So I'm just writing this 4 lines of code in this particular my function block. So whenever it is required, you can just make a call from the main function. Okay. So by doing so, what if you observe this one, here the number of lines of code is totally reduced. Here it is 19, there it is only 16. So here this is very effective. Okay. So here you should mention variable that comes up with opening and closing parenthesis. Okay. Here the my function is a user defined function, as I said. So it is totally your option. It should comes up with opening and closing parenthesis. Even you can ask, even printf and scanf comes up with opening and closing parenthesis. Yes, it is also a function, but it is a predefined function or built-in function, because the definition of the function is already predefined in your header files for printf and scanf. But here this is not a predefined, this is a user defined function. So the compiler, when it comes across this my function, it will go and search where the my function block is. Okay. So the compiler will execute the line code line by line, right? So it will come to the main function. After that, it will execute the first task. It will go to the my function. So here this is a function. So it will come to this particular block. It will execute this block. Then the control will be coming back to the task 2. Okay. So we'll see the function, how it works, how the program flow will be. So compiler will be executing directly going to the main function. It will execute the code. So here it will encounter this function. Okay. When you say a function, it is coming up with opening and closing parenthesis. So the control will be given to that particular block, function block, and this block will be executed. After this, the control will be given back to the next line of the function. So this is how the program flow will be. Next, we'll be seeing about the syntax of the function. So what are the rules that should be followed while declaring, defining and calling the function? First, we'll be seeing about the definition of a function. Okay. So here the function consists of actual statements which are executed when the function is called. This block is executed when the function is called from the main. So this is apart from the main. After the main, you can write this, you can define the function, or else before the main also you can do it. Okay. So inside the main, when the compiler comes across that particular function, the control will be given to this particular block. That is called as a function definition. So how you should write the function definition? Return type, that is, it can be a void, int, float. The return type of that particular block should be mentioned, followed by the function name, that is user defined, your name, like whatever you wish. followed by this argument list is totally a optional one. It is not a mandatory one. According to your requirement, you can add or you can remove. So this is the body of the function. Here you should define what should be done when it is called. So this is a function definition. For example, if you see in this example, int is a return type. So this particular block is going to have a return type. So next, followed by a function name, inside that is a parameters. So that is, I told, it's an optional one. So this is the body of your function. So if you are mentioning it as a int, you should write return type. If you are using void, no need to write the return type. The next one is function call. Inside the main, you should make a call. Okay, whenever it is required, you should make a call to the function. So what happens? The control will be given to that function definition block. So while calling a function, you should write the function name followed by the opening and closing parenthesis. Inside that, you can mention the argument list, or else you can just leave it as empty. Okay, according to the requirement, you can change. So it should be coming up with the semicolon. Okay, so the compiler will be, once it encounters this particular line, it will be going to that particular block. So this is how you can you can pass the control to the function block. It will just instruct the compiler to execute that particular function. So this is an example for function call. This is the name of the function, followed by this is a values. It can be 1 argument, 2 arguments, it's totally your option, or else it can be empty also. If you are not passing any values, you can make it as empty. Just opening and closing parenthesis is more than enough. Here this is a function name followed by the parameters. Here you should put semicolon, but in function definition, no need to put the semicolon. Next is function declaration. So function declaration, before starting your main program, like immediately after your header files, you should mention this function declaration. So it's just a signal to the compiler that is this particular program is going to have function inside the program. Okay, so how to write a function? The first one is return type. Okay, you should mention whether it is a void or int or float, followed by function name, opening and closing parenthesis. If your function is going to have argument, you can mention that, followed by semicolon. So in this declaration part, it should be defined globally, that is immediately after your header files. Okay, for here you should mention the semicolon is required here. So this is an example, int sum. Inside this you can have your parameters. Here you should mention the semicolon, but in function definition, no need to put the semicolon. So here we'll be discussing about the example. So this is with argument and this is without argument. Here I'm not going to have any parameters, but there I'm going to have a parameter. So what is parameter is? It is a values that you can pass inside the function. So here I'm having a header files followed by, this is nothing but a function declaration part. Okay, so what is the syntax for the function declaration? Return type followed by the function name, then opening and closing parenthesis. Here we are discussing about without arguments, so I am not mentioning any arguments here. Okay, so here you should use semicolon and it should be declared globally for function declaration. Next, inside the void, you are going to just make a call to the function. Okay, so by seeing this, what the compiler will do, give the control to the function block. So this is your function block, this is your function call, you are making a call to a function, this is your function definition, you are defining the function. So this particular block will be executed, then the control will be given back to this particular code. So what will be the output of this particular one? The control will be given back to this particular code. This block will be executed. Here I have a is equal to 5, b is equal to 5, just addition of two numbers, and you are just displaying the output. So answer will be like, result will be like only 10. Okay, so but here what you are executing, you are making a call to a function. You are not executing the main block in the main, you are not executing the part in this particular the code in the main block. Instead, you are making a call to the function. But here I'm going to use the arguments there, that is I'm going to pass the values inside the function. So here this is a function declaration. Next, inside the void, I'm going to pass the values. Okay, so here a is equal to 5, b is equal to 5. So I want to pass these values inside the function. Okay, so what you can do is sum, inside that you can pass that a is equal a comma b. So by seeing this function, what the compiler will do, the flow will be given to this particular block, right? So int sum, so in the place of x, value 5 will be stored. Okay, value of a is 5, so 5 will be stored in x. Because it is locally declared, this a is locally declared, it cannot be used in the other block. So what you are doing is, I'm just creating another variable and just putting the values inside the x. Int again y. So here in the place of x, 5 is stored, in the place of y 5 is stored. Here int z is equal to 5 plus 5, answer 10. Okay, so the aim of both the program is same, but here I am not using arguments, but there I am using arguments. That's the difference. And you can also have a return. If you want to return the values here, you are displaying the values here itself, right? The result is displayed here itself, but you can also pass the result. You can also return the result to the main block by using return keyword. Okay, so thank you.